My friend, I want you to listen closely, not just with your ears, but with your spirit. There is a sacred rhythm to life, an invisible current that moves all things into their rightful place. You do not have to push the river to make it flow. You do not have to force the seed to grow, and you do not have to chase what is already yours in consciousness. It works when you stop forcing it. You see, the moment you try to force the dream, you proclaim with your energy that it is not yet yours. You declare lack, you affirm separation, you live in the tension of desire without fulfillment. And in that very moment, you lose touch with the truth, that what you seek is seeking you, not through striving, but through surrender. All things begin in the unseen. Every event, every relationship, every blessing is first conceived in the invisible realm of thought and imagination. That is the womb of creation. The outer world is merely the echo of your inner assumption. And just as a woman who carries a child does not force its growth with her hands, but trusts the natural unfolding within her, so too must you learn to rest in your assumption and allow it to become flesh in its own divine time. You must learn to let go, not of the vision, but of the struggle, to cease the internal warfare, to silence the anxious voice that says, I must make this happen. No, beloved, you must know it is already done. The work is not in the forcing, but in the knowing. The labor is not in effort, but in faith. When you assume the feeling of your desire fulfilled, you set the law of consciousness in motion. You set the unseen machinery of heaven to work on your behalf. You move mountains, not with your hands, but with your awareness. For what you accept is true within. The world cannot help but mirror without. But here is the mystery. It comes only when you stop reaching for it with restless fingers. When you release the tension, when you fall into the stillness, when you simply know that is when the manifestation arrives. Have you not noticed? When you were desperate for the call, it never came. When you were checking the clock, refreshing the page, pleading with the sky, nothing happened. But the moment you let go, the moment you stopped caring, the moment you released it into the silence, suddenly the answer appeared. The message came. The opportunity unfolded. Why? Because your inner state shifted from resistance to allowance. You were not waiting for the world to change. You were waiting for you to come into alignment with the truth of your being. You are not a beggar in the kingdom. You are not a stranger to the blessing. You are the child of the eternal, the dreamer of dreams, the one in whom all power dwells. And yet the moment you try to force what is already yours, you forget who you are. The key is not in more trying, but in deeper trusting. Not in more effort, but in greater awareness. You do not need to manipulate life. You need only to become the version of yourself who already has what you desire. And how do you do that? By assuming the feeling, by walking in the end, by letting your inner world speak the language of completion. Stop trying to fix it. Stop chasing it. Stop bargaining with the unseen. You are not here to hustle the universe. You are here to remember that all things are already finished within. Your job is not to make it happen. Your job is to become the one for whom it naturally happens. You say, but if I stop trying, won't I lose the dream? No. If you stop trying and start knowing, you will possess the dream. The only thing you'll lose is the struggle. Let it go. Let go of the need to control every detail. Let go of the fear that says it won't happen. Let go of the belief that you must work harder. Pray longer, wait louder. That is not faith. That is fear dressed up as action. And fear never brings forth life. Only love does. Only faith. Only peace. Be still and know. That is your power. Be still and imagine. That is your magic. Be still and embody the truth that what you have seen in the inner world is already echoing its way into form. It is done. It is done. So let it unfold. Let it come to you in the way it must. Trust the invisible intelligence that shapes galaxies and breathes through your lungs. You do not need to push what is already flowing toward you. Just receive. Stop asking when. Stop worrying how. Stop forcing the timing. Live from the state of the wish fulfilled. And let the outer world catch up to your inner knowing. It works not when you strive, but when you surrender. It works not when you beg, but when you believe. It works not when you chase, but when you become. Remember this, it is already yours, and it will show itself to you the moment you stop trying to force it. Let go, rest, know, it works when you stop forcing it. You see, there is a sacred order to the unfolding of your life, and it does not respond to panic. It does not yield to pressure. It responds only to the inner conviction that what you have imagined is already a reality in the unseen realm. The great paradox of manifestation is this: the moment you need it too much, you push it away. But the moment you know it's already yours, without desperation, it begins to move towards you in ways you cannot orchestrate or predict. The spiritual law is simple but unwavering. Whatever you assume to be true will outpicture itself in the world around you. An assumption is not a frantic pleading. It is not begging for a miracle. It is not affirming with clenched teeth. Assumption is quiet, calm, sure. It walks with dignity. It speaks with finality. It rests in stillness. The one who assumes does not ask if it will come. They live as though it already has. When you stop forcing it, you step into the flow of divine timing. You stop acting as though you are separate from your good. You no longer feel like the outsider to your own vision. Instead, you enter the scene internally. You walk into the room in consciousness. You touch the thing with your spirit before your hand ever reaches for it. You feel the fulfillment before the form. And that inner alignment calls the outer world into order. You must learn to be at peace with the gap, the space between your inner vision and the outer manifestation. This is where most people break. They say nothing is happening, and so they try harder, push more, panic louder. And in doing so, they reaffirm the very thing they're trying to overcome. They forget that the gap is not a problem. It is the preparation. The roots grow deep before the tree appears above ground. The seed cracks open in silence long before the first green shoots break the surface. So let the gap be sacred. Let it be holy ground. Do not fill it with worry. Do not fill it with doubt. Fill it with certainty. Fill it with thanksgiving. Fill it with imagination. Because the gap is not empty space. It is pregnant with becoming. What you do in the unseen determines what you receive in the seen. And here is the truth. The one who trusts does not rush. The one who knows does not panic. The one who has seen it within walks the earth differently. They are not chasing signs, they are the sign. They are not looking for proof. They are living in the proof. They do not speak of the thing as someday, they speak of it as now. This is not arrogance, it is spiritual authority. It is the quiet power of someone who understands that everything comes when you align, not when you strain. Stop talking about how long it's taking. Stop rehearsing delays. Stop narrating the obstacles. The more you speak of what has not yet come, the more you invest in lack. But when you speak from the end, when you talk like one who already has it, lives it, knows it, then the world begins to reflect that inner posture. The question is not, will it come? The question is, can you remain faithful to the feeling? Can you persist in the assumption even when nothing seems to confirm it? Can you keep your inner world steady while the outer world appears unchanged? Because, beloved, that is the test. The dream does not respond to your effort. It responds to your embodiment. When you live from the end, when you walk as the version of yourself who already has what they desire, you emit a new signal into the field of consciousness. You stop begging. You stop bargaining. You stop clinging. And in that relaxed knowing, you allow the universe to deliver without resistance. Do not confuse stillness with passivity. Do not mistake surrender for weakness. To be still inwardly while the winds of delay blow around you is a rare strength. To stand in peace while the evidence seems to say otherwise is a sacred rebellion. It is to say, I know something deeper than what I see. I walk by inner vision, not outer appearances. I move by truth, not by timeline. What would happen if, just for today, you stopped trying to figure it out? What if you stopped calculating how, when, and through whom your desire would arrive? What if you stopped needing constant science, constant validation, constant updates from the world around you? And instead, what if you went quiet, deeply quiet, and simply felt it as done? Not as hope, not as possibility, as done. Done in your imagination, done in your heart, done in your spirit. And what if, from that place, you let life take care of the rest? That is the secret. Not in the pressure, not in the performance, not in the constant movement, but in the deep, steady rest in your soul that says it is already mine. Because the moment you stop forcing it, you allow the natural order of the unseen to bring it to you in ways your intellect could never engineer. Force is born of fear. You try to control what you do not trust. You cling when you do not believe in divine timing. You panic when you forget that the work is already finished in the unseen. But when you remember who you are, the operant power, the living imagination, the vessel of divine creation, you stop forcing, because you no longer need to push what already belongs to you by right of consciousness. You begin to act like the one who has it, and not with arrogance, but with peace. You rise in the morning with calm. You walk through your day with assurance. You bless your steps, your breath, your thoughts. You stop watching the clock. You stop keeping score. You stop questioning the path. And here's the miracle. Life begins to rearrange itself. People show up. Doors open. Delays dissolve. Not because you forced it, but because you became a match for the thing you desire. When you were striving, you were affirming distance. But when you rested in the end, you became one with it. And once you become one with it in imagination, the outer world is obligated to conform. This is not wishful thinking. This is law. As within, so without. Not as a nice idea, but as an unbreakable principle of consciousness. You always manifest who you are being, not what you are wanting. That's why the transformation must take place within. You become it. You live it. You breathe it. And then, without effort, it appears. The world is not responding to your hard work. It is responding to your inner state. That's why some strive for years and see nothing, while others relax into belief and see it come swiftly. The difference is not the worthiness of the dream. It is the atmosphere of the mind in which the dream is planted. So change the atmosphere. Make it fertile with ease. Make it rich with rest. Make it soft with trust. Water it not with tears of desperation, but with joy, with gratitude, with quiet confidence. Know that what is yours is not running from you. Know that the vision you carry is not fantasy. It is memory of what already exists in the unseen realm. And when you stop trying to drag it into being, it will walk to you on its own. When you stop knocking on every door in fear, the right one will swing open by unseen hands. When you stop shouting into the void, the answer will arrive in a whisper. This is the way of spirit. This is the way of faith. Everything you desire is already alive within you. Stop treating it like a stranger. Embrace it in imagination. Accept it in consciousness. Welcome it in feeling. And then walk this world as one who already has it. That is the posture of power. That is the stillness that speaks louder than action. That is the energy that opens doors no man can shut. You are not here to chase. You are here to create, not to plead, but to become. And it all begins the moment you stop forcing it. It's a strange thing, isn't it? The way life bends so subtly, almost imperceptibly, when you shift your inner stance. You might think nothing's happening, but in the stillness of your surrender, in the quietness of your new assumption, the entire structure of reality begins to respond. There are no fireworks at first, no dramatic music plays, but everything moves, not because you're pushing it with sheer will, but because you've stepped into harmony with it. You've stopped trying to beat down the door, and suddenly the door begins to unlock itself. Most people don't recognize this shift because they're still addicted to effort. To them, success and struggle are twins. They think if they're not sweating, striving, fixing, forcing, then they're not doing it right. But the truth is, spiritual power doesn't work that way. Real power is never loud. Real transformation is never frantic. It doesn't need to announce itself with noise. It doesn't force its way through walls. It enters like breath, like silence, like light creeping into a dark room without asking for permission. It just arrives because it belongs. When you try to force your life to bend to your will, you're no longer operating from creation. You're reacting from fear. And fear is always short-sighted. It doesn't see the whole picture. It doesn't recognize the divine timing that is shaping things with far more intelligence than your panic ever could. Fear says, do something now. But faith says, it's already done. And in that difference lies your freedom. The moment you stop forcing, you enter into the flow of wisdom. Suddenly you can hear the subtle impulses from within. You begin to notice things you were too frantic to see before. You recognize that the closed doors weren't punishments, but protections. That the delays weren't denials, they were invitations to align more deeply with your true desire. The kind of desire that doesn't just satisfy the surface but fulfills the soul. There is a natural unfolding to everything, and you are not the author of that rhythm. You are its participant, its vessel, its mirror. The rose does not bloom because you scream at it to open. It blooms because it is already that within. The fruit ripens in its season, and when you live in that same rhythm, when your consciousness begins to trust the unseen cycles, you'll discover that things come to you not by force but by resonance. You do not chase what you already are, and if you will dare to embody the feeling of already having it, fully, completely, without apology, you'll see how quickly the outer begins to conform to the inner. You'll see how your world becomes more cooperative, not because you've manipulated it, but because you've released it. The act of letting go is not passive. It's powerful. It says to the universe, I trust you to do what I cannot. It says to your own soul, I know it's done, even when I don't see it. When you stop forcing, you finally make room for the answer to arrive. You open the door you've been standing in front of, blocking with your impatience. You cease the mental chatter long enough to hear the whisper that was always trying to reach you. You become a vessel, not a machine, a receiver, not a resistor. That is what allowing really is. Not sitting back in laziness, but rising in awareness, becoming so clear, so deeply rooted in the end result within yourself, that you don't need the outside world to validate it. You've seen it in the spirit. You felt it in the silence. You've lived it in imagination. And that is enough. You are enough. The vision is already done. The manifestation is on its way, not because you forced it, but because you remembered who you are. You don't have to coerce the universe. It does not need convincing. It simply needs direction. And your direction is given not through effort, but through feeling. Every time you dwell in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are giving the command. And it is answered not through chaos, but through quiet realignment. The right people are drawn to you. The right moments find you. The right paths illuminate themselves. But they come not when you are tense and striving. They come when you are soft and certain. The moment you stop asking, where is it? You start feeling, of course it's here. And in that shift, the energy around you changes. You are no longer a magnet for delay, but a living embodiment of fulfillment. The energy of desperation pushes things away, but the energy of wholeness, of sufficiency, of divine ease, that draws all things unto itself without trying. You must learn to become empty of resistance, so that life may fill you with abundance. Your efforts were never what made it happen. It was always your state of being. You cannot force grace. You cannot demand divine right order. You can only align with it. And the moment you stop forcing is the moment you step into that alignment. Let yourself breathe again. Let yourself enjoy the vision without needing to possess it this very moment. Let yourself dance in the dream without needing to wake up and measure its distance. Because every time you indulge the question of when, you move away from the reality of now. That when you dwell in now as though the dream were real, you collapse time. You dissolve the barrier. You call it forth with your knowing. Stop acting like a stranger to your own desire. Stop treating it like it lives in some far-off land, disconnected from who you are. Your dream is not out there. It is in here, waiting for you to claim it with conviction and peace. You don't have to drag it across the threshold. You have to become the threshold. You have to become the place where heaven and earth meet, where the unseen takes form, where spirit becomes visible. And how do you do that? By letting go, by releasing the need to micromanage, by refusing to panic in the silence, by trusting that what you have imagined has already been received by the deeper intelligence within you, and it is now unfolding with perfect accuracy and precision. You don't see the roots growing beneath the soil, but they are. You don't hear the stars shifting in the sky to align your path, but they are. You don't feel the entire field of consciousness bending to your assumption, but it is. And all of this happens when you are no longer standing in the way with clenched fists and anxious thoughts. When you release the need to force, you return to the place where miracles are natural. And isn't that what your spirit truly wants? Not more pressure, not more effort, not more striving, but rest. Rest in the knowing, rest in the being, rest in the truth that what is for you cannot miss you, not when you are being it inwardly. It comes when you stop grasping. It flows when you stop chasing. It manifests when you stop demanding and begin declaring, it is done. And you say that not from arrogance, but from quiet inner union with the thing you've long desired. You don't need to explain this to anyone. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to convince another soul. What you see within is yours. What you feel as real is forming. What you embody in consciousness will crystallize in experience. This is not imagination as fantasy. This is imagination as creation. And it always works best when it's undisturbed by pressure. So let yourself return to ease. Let yourself laugh again. Let yourself release the burden of making it happen. Your job is not to fight against the unseen, but to align with it. Your role is not to demand every detail fall into place, but to feel the end is already here. And when that becomes your dwelling place, when that becomes your home, you'll notice that what once felt far off begins to draw near. What once felt heavy becomes light. What once felt delayed begins to unfold in divine rhythm. You do not need to force what is already flowing. You only need to get out of the way. Trust the process. Trust the rhythm. Trust the dream. And most of all, trust that it is already done. Let it be easy. Let it be simple. Let it be light. This is what you came to remember. Not that you had to prove your worth, not that you had to wrestle the vision into reality, but that all things are drawn to you according to your state. You do not manifest by the sweat of your brow. You manifest by the nature of your being. And when you stop forcing it, your being becomes magnetic, radiant, effortless. You begin to walk differently, not because the outer world has changed, but because you have, and the world, as it always does, must then mirror the change. It has no choice. It reflects back the tone of your inner self, the texture of your mood, the spirit of your assumptions. And when your assumption is calm, unwavering, and fully saturated with the end, you walk into experiences you once thought were far from you. There is no distance between you and the thing you desire, except the distance of your belief. And belief is not a statement of hope. Belief is embodiment. Belief is living from the end, not walking toward it. It is not whispering, maybe one day. It is declaring silently now, here, I am. And the moment that inner declaration becomes more real to you than any outer appearance, reality shifts. You no longer need to manipulate your circumstances because you realize that the outer world is only ever a shadow. The real work, the only work, is within. You return to the secret place of your imagination, not to escape, but to create. You enter the scene of your desire as though you already lived there, and you begin to feel it. Think from it, move in it. And the world, like a mirror, slowly reshapes itself to match the mold you have impressed upon it. This is not a sprint. It is not a desperate race to the finish. It is a stillness, a sacred waiting that is not idle, but alive. You are not waiting in doubt. You are waiting in fulfillment. You are not holding your breath. You are breathing in the reality of the unseen. You are not postponing joy. You are practicing it now. And the more you return to that state, the more you dwell in the conviction that what you've seen in your inner eye is real, the less you feel the urge to force anything. You don't try to make people behave in a certain way. You don't try to manipulate conversations, push outcomes, or obsess over timing. You let go of the frantic energy, and in its place, peace rises. Peace in the quiet knowing that what is yours cannot bypass you. And if it seems to, if it appears delayed, you do not despair. You do not react. You simply return to your center and remind yourself nothing is lost. Nothing is denied. It is all unfolding precisely. Even what looks like a detour is not a detour. It is design. Even what seems like rejection is redirection. You don't need to force anything because you understand that you are always being guided, always being led, always being brought into alignment with what matches your inner state. That's why you no longer panic in the pause. You no longer fear the silence. You welcome the quiet because you know it is never empty. It is rich with formation. The invisible is at work. The soil of consciousness is alive with movement. The seed you planted in imagination is being watered by your faith. And every time you return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you nourish it. Every time you let go of needing it now, you affirm that it already is. You do not need to convince anyone. You do not need to announce what's coming. You only need to dwell in the knowing. Because when it's real to you, the outer will follow. Not because you chased it, but because you became it. You stopped performing. You stopped pretending. You stopped posturing, and you simply rested in the truth of what already is. This is the shift that changes everything. Not more work, but more willingness. Not more pressure, but more presence. You start to enjoy the vision again, without fear of loss. You revisit the dream without the sting of waiting. You allow yourself to feel it. not to make it come, but because it has come, in spirit, in imagination, in your own inner sanctuary. And when you feed it there persistently, without effort, you bring it closer, not by demanding, but by becoming. That's why forcing it never works. It comes from a place of separation. It says it's out there and I must go get it. But creation doesn't work from the outside in. It works from within out. You are not chasing your desire. You are calling it forth by being the version of you who already lives in its fulfillment. You are walking through the world as the version of yourself who already knows the outcome, who already feels the satisfaction, who already moves in victory. And when you do this, everything around you begins to respond. Not because you manipulate it, but because you've entered into resonance with it. You have become the vibration of the thing you want. You are no longer hoping. You are embodying. You are no longer wishing. You are remembering who you are. Remembering that you are the one with the power to choose your state, to dwell in it, to return to it, and to let it move through you without resistance. This is how you become a living invitation for miracles. Not by chasing them, but by becoming their home. The moment you stop trying to drag your dream into the now is the moment the now becomes fertile for the dream to emerge. And it comes not with fanfare, but with grace. Not with effort, but with ease. Because you were never supposed to force it. You were only ever supposed to feel it, believe it, trust it, and rest in it. And in that rest, you are more powerful than in all your striving. In that rest, you are more magnetic than in all your pushing. In that rest, you are aligned, centered, anchored in truth. And that truth is this: everything is working for you, not against you. Nothing is ever truly missing. Delay is not denial. And the moment you stop forcing is the moment you begin receiving. So let the world do what it does. Let others rush if they must. Let appearances swirl and shift and scream for your attention. You do not move by appearances. You do not live by fear. You move by inner vision. You live by unseen conviction. And you know beyond all knowing that what is planted in the invisible must one day bloom into form. All you must do is stop pushing, stop doubting, stop forcing, and start remembering, start feeling, start imagining again, not as escape, but as creation. Return to the feeling, return to the end, and stay there, not with tight fists, but with open hands, not with desperation, but with joy. You were never meant to force what is already yours. You were meant to receive it with grace, to embody it with peace, to express it with certainty. And the moment you stop striving, you become the clearest signal for the life you've always imagined. So let it come, not by pressure, but by presence. Let it unfold, not by force, but by faith. You no longer need to struggle, to strive to chase what is already yours. In spirit, simply rest in the knowing, walk in the feeling, trust the silence, and allow the unseen hand of life to move all things into place. It works not when you force it, but when you finally let go, surrender to the end, and become it within. What is yours is already finding its way to you. Let it come. The voice of God is not a thunderous roar from the heavens, nor is it a distant echo in the wind. It is the still, small voice that speaks within you, the whisper that arises in moments of quiet contemplation. You have heard it before. When an idea suddenly illuminates your mind, when a deep sense of knowing washes over you, when something within tells you to move forward, even when the world says otherwise. This voice does not come from outside. It is not separate from you. It is the presence of the divine within, calling you to step into your highest reality. Many live their lives deaf to this call, waiting for a grand sign, a miracle that will shake them into action. But God's calling is not found in the noise of the world. It is in the silence, in the space between thoughts, in the deep conviction that stirs the soul. It does not beg for attention, yet it is ever present, waiting for recognition. When you recognize this voice, you begin to understand that you have always been guided, always been led toward your divine purpose. To answer God's call, you must first believe that He is speaking to you, that He has already placed within you everything you need. You are not waiting for an outside force to rescue you. The answer is already within. The moment you assume that what you seek is already yours, you align yourself with the divine frequency. That which was once unseen begins to take form, and that which seemed impossible begins to unfold. This is not mere wishful thinking. This is the law of faith in action. There will be times when doubt will creep in, when circumstances will tell you that you are unworthy, that you are not meant to rise. But faith does not rely on the evidence of the senses. Faith is the assurance of things unseen, the knowing that what is within you is greater than what is before you. Every great calling is met with resistance. The moment you decide to step into the life God has prepared for you, distractions will come, obstacles will rise, and the voices of the world will try to drown out the voice of truth. Yet, within the quiet space of your soul, God continues to speak, reminding you that you are chosen. Do not look to the world to confirm your calling, for the world reflects only what you believe. Instead, turn inward, feel the reality of your answered prayer. Walk as if it is already done. Speak as if you are already standing in the fulfillment of God's promise. The power is not in waiting, the power is in knowing. The moment you declare it is so, heaven moves to align with your declaration. God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the called. If you have felt the pull toward something greater, if you have sensed the divine nudge urging you to step forward, know that it is already finished in the unseen. Your role is to accept it, to embody it, to live as though you have already received it. This is the mystery of faith. What you accept as true in consciousness must reveal itself in your world. The voice of God is always speaking, always guiding, always calling you to a greater expression of yourself. The question is not whether God is calling, the question is, will you answer? The voice of God is never silent, though the world may try to drown it out with its noise. It is not found in the distractions of life, nor in the fleeting opinions of others. It does not argue, does not demand, does not force itself upon you. It waits. It is patient. It is eternal. The call of God has always been within you, woven into the fabric of your being before you took your first breath. The question is not whether He is speaking, but whether you have stilled yourself long enough to hear. Many search outside of themselves, seeking validation, waiting for external proof before they believe. But to hear the voice of God, you must turn inward, for the kingdom of heaven is within you. You must close your eyes to the illusions of the world and open your inner vision to the truth. God does not call you according to what the world sees. He calls you according to what He has already placed within you. If you desire something deeply, if you feel drawn to a purpose, it is because that purpose was written into your spirit before time began. Doubt is the great deceiver. It will whisper that you are unworthy, that you are not ready, that you must wait for a perfect moment. But when has God ever required perfection before using His chosen ones? He did not choose the strongest, nor the most qualified, nor the ones the world deemed worthy. He chose those who were willing. He chose those who could see beyond their current circumstances and believe in His promise. When you answer God's call, you step into the unseen, into a reality that exists beyond the limits of human understanding. Faith is not hoping, faith is knowing. It is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. It is the unshakable conviction that what God has placed within you is already done. When you walk by faith, you no longer ask, will it happen? You declare, it is so. You do not wait for circumstances to align. You align yourself with the truth that the work is already complete in the spiritual realm. The moment you assume it is true, the moment you accept it as already existing, the world must conform to that belief. There is no separation between you and God. The voice you hear within is not some distant external force. It is the presence of God dwelling in you as you. When you embrace this truth, you no longer seek outside yourself for answers, for everything you need has already been given. You do not beg for direction. You trust that the steps will be revealed as you walk in faith. You do not plead for a sign. You recognize that the very desire within you is the sign. Some will question, some will doubt. They will say it is foolish to believe in what cannot be seen, but they do not understand the nature of reality. Everything you see was once unseen. Every great work, every creation, every miracle began as an idea, a vision, a belief that defied the evidence of the senses. When you answer God's call, you are not waiting for the world to confirm it. You are moving in alignment with the unseen reality that already exists. Your words have power. The moment you declare something, you breathe life into it. You shape your reality through the words you speak and the beliefs you hold. When you say, I am, you are making a statement of creation. If you say, I am weak, you create weakness. If you say, I am strong, strength rises within you. What you accept as true in your mind must manifest in your life. Speak as though it is already done. Walk as though you have already received, and the world must align to reflect your inner conviction. Fear will try to hold you back. It will whisper that you are not enough, that you will fail, that you should wait until you feel more prepared. But fear is only an illusion, a shadow that disappears the moment you step into the light of faith. There is no need to battle fear, no need to fight against it. Simply move forward as if it does not exist, and it will dissolve on its own. When God calls you, He does not give you the full picture at once. He gives you just enough light for the next step. Many hesitate because they want certainty before they move. But certainty is not the foundation of faith, trust is. Trust that as you take one step, the next will be revealed. Trust that you are not walking alone. Trust that the path has already been prepared, even if you cannot see it yet. Your imagination is the gateway to the divine. What you hold in your mind as real must eventually take form in your life. If you can see it within, if you can feel it as already done, you have set into motion a reality that cannot be denied. Do not concern yourself with how it will come to pass. The how is not your burden to carry. Your role is to believe, to trust, to walk in the assumption that it is already yours. When you step into your divine calling, you will encounter resistance. Not everyone will understand. Some will try to pull you back into their limited view of reality. They will tell you to be realistic, to play it safe, to lower your expectations. But God's calling is not for those who seek comfort. It is for those who are willing to step beyond what they have known. It is for those who are willing to embrace the unknown, to walk in faith even when the path is unclear. There will be moments when the journey feels lonely, when you wonder if you have made the right choice. But remember this, God never calls without equipping. If you have been given a vision, you have also been given the ability to bring it to pass. You do not need to see the full picture. You only need to trust that what has been placed within you is already finished in the spiritual realm. You are not waiting for a sign, you are the sign. You are not waiting for permission. You have already been chosen. The moment you decide to step into your calling, the moment you accept that God's promise is already fulfilled, the world must shift to reflect that reality. Nothing outside of you can stop what has been divinely ordained. There is no need to wait. There is no need to hesitate. The voice you hear within is the voice of truth. It is the whisper of the divine, calling you to step into the fullness of who you are. Will you answer? The call of God is not one of uncertainty, nor does it come with hesitation. It is firm, resolute, and undeniable. It does not beg for recognition, nor does it waver when confronted with human doubt. It is the eternal whisper that has always been with you, waiting for you to acknowledge its presence. To answer this call is to step into alignment with a reality that has already been created for you. It is not about striving or struggling to make something happen. It is about accepting what has always been yours. Many believe they must work for God's approval, that they must prove themselves worthy before they can step into their divine purpose. But you were chosen before the foundation of the world. There was never a moment when you were separate from God. The illusion of separation exists only in the mind. The moment you release the idea that you are distant from Him, you will begin to see that you have never walked alone. The same power that created the heavens and the earth resides within you. To hear God's voice is to recognize that your deepest desires, your greatest aspirations are not random. They are divine instructions. guiding you toward the fulfillment of His perfect plan. You must not allow the opinions of others to dictate your path. If you wait for the world to validate your calling, you will wait forever. The world does not understand the ways of the Spirit. It looks for logic, for evidence, for tangible proof before it believes. But faith operates differently. It moves in the unseen, trusting that what has been declared in the spiritual realm must come to pass in the physical. When you hold a vision in your mind, when you accept it as true, you have already received it. There is no waiting, there is only knowing. God does not call you based on what you have done. He calls you based on what He has placed within you. If He has given you a dream, He has already given you the means to fulfill it. But He will not force you to step into it. Free will is the great gift and the great responsibility. You must choose to believe. You must choose to act. You must choose to trust that what He has spoken will not return void. There will be moments when the evidence of the world contradicts the promise. You will look around and see no sign of what you have believed for. This is the testing ground of faith. Will you trust what you see, or will you trust what has been revealed to you in the depths of your spirit? The world will always present reasons to doubt, but doubt is powerless in the presence of true faith. The moment you decide that your vision is more real than your current circumstances, the moment you refuse to entertain any thought contrary to your divine purpose, the entire universe bends to align with your conviction. Fear will attempt to persuade you that you are not ready, that you need more time, that you must wait for the perfect conditions. But what is fear but a lie disguised as reason? What is hesitation but the mind clinging to the familiar? When you are called, you must act. Not when you feel ready, not when the world agrees, but when the voice within you speaks. Your belief is the foundation upon which your reality is built. If you believe you are limited, you will experience limitation. If you believe you are unworthy, you will see evidence of unworthiness. But if you believe that God has already made a way, if you believe that nothing is impossible, if you believe that His promises are already fulfilled, you will walk in the manifestation of that truth. The world will tell you to be practical, to lower your expectations, to settle for what seems achievable. But faith is not practical. Faith does not conform to human logic. Faith defies the seen and embraces the unseen. It moves mountains not through effort, but through unwavering conviction. The greatest miracles do not happen through force. They happen through alignment. When you align your thoughts, your words, and your actions with the reality God has revealed to you, the impossible becomes inevitable. Every great work begins in the mind. Every transformation starts with a decision. You do not need to see the entire path before you take the first step. You need only to trust that the next step will be revealed. The answers you seek are already within you, waiting to be acknowledged. When you stop looking outside for direction and turn inward, you will find that you have always known the way. There will be those who doubt you. There will be those who question your faith, who challenge your vision, who try to convince you that you are mistaken. But their disbelief has no power unless you accept it. You do not need their approval. You do not need their validation. You need only to trust what God has placed within you. If you hold firm to the truth, if you refuse to entertain doubt, if you walk with the assurance that it is already done, nothing can stand in your way. God's voice is not distant. It is not something you must strain to hear. It is always speaking, always guiding, always reminding you of who you truly are. The question is not whether He is calling. The question is whether you will answer. Will you trust what has been revealed to you? Will you step beyond what is comfortable? Will you dare to believe that you have already received all that you seek? The choice is yours. The power has always been yours. The moment you say yes to your divine calling, the moment you decide that nothing will shake your faith, the world around you must shift to reflect that decision. Everything you need is already within you. Everything you have asked for is already given. The only thing left to do is believe. The voice of God does not come with force, nor does it demand your attention through loud proclamations. It is the quiet stirring within, the deep knowing that cannot be explained, only felt. It is the moment of stillness in which you realize that your desires were never random. They were placed within you by divine intention. And yet many hesitate. They wait for a sign, for external confirmation, for the world to agree with what their spirit already knows. But the world does not grant validation to those who walk in faith. Faith does not require external proof. It is the proof. It is the evidence of things not seen, the assurance that what is felt within is far more real than what is observed without. You were not created to walk in hesitation, nor were you designed to live in uncertainty. The greatest deception of the world is the belief that you are separate from God, that you must search for Him as though He is distant, as though He is beyond reach. But He is within you. His voice is your voice when you allow yourself to listen, beyond the noise of doubt. The moment you recognize this truth, the moment you surrender the illusion of separation, you step into the fullness of your calling. Fear will whisper that you are not qualified, that you are not ready, that you must wait until you have all the answers. But the call of God does not come to those who are already prepared. It comes to those who are willing. Willing to believe when there is no evidence. Willing to trust when logic says otherwise. Willing to step into the unknown, knowing that what is unseen is more real than what is visible. The mind is the gateway to divine manifestation. Every thought, every belief, every assumption shapes the reality you experience. If you assume lack, you will live in lack. If you assume doubt, you will encounter obstacles. But if you assume that you have already received what you seek, if you assume that God's promise is already fulfilled, nothing can stand in the way of that reality unfolding. The world will tell you to be realistic, to lower your expectations, to conform to what is deemed possible. But faith is not bound by human limitations. Faith sees beyond appearances. Faith knows that what exists in the unseen is more powerful than anything the physical world can present. Your calling is not something you must earn. It is not granted based on merit or human approval. It is already written. It has always been. When you feel the pull within, when you sense that there is something greater awaiting you, that is not imagination. It is divine remembrance. It is the truth of your being revealing itself to you. To answer the call is not to step into something new. It is to return to what has always been yours. There will be moments of silence, moments where it seems as though nothing is happening, where it feels as though God is distant. But in those moments, transformation is taking place. Faith is not tested in times of certainty, it is tested in the waiting. Will you continue to believe when there is no sign? Will you hold on to the vision when nothing in the world affirms it? The ones who manifest the impossible are the ones who refuse to let go, the ones who hold the unseen reality so firmly in their minds that the physical world has no choice but to align. The moment you decide that what God has revealed to you is true, regardless of what the world says, you shift dimensions. You move from hoping to knowing, from wishing to possessing. The world reflects your internal state. When you walk as though it is already done, when you speak as though you have already received, the world conforms. It does not question, it responds. This is the law of faith, the law that has been spoken since the beginning of time. Many will doubt you, many will question your certainty, they will call it foolishness, arrogance, delusion. But what they fail to understand is that every great move of God begins in the mind before it is seen by the world. No one sees the seed when it is buried beneath the earth. To the outside observer, there is no sign of life, but the one who planted it knows the truth. The one who planted it does not dig it up every day to check if it is growing. They trust, they believe, they know that beneath the surface, beyond what is visible, transformation is taking place. And then, in due time, what was once unseen becomes undeniable. So it is with your calling. The world may not yet see it, but that does not mean it is not already unfolding. The only question is whether you will trust the process, whether you will remain steadfast in your faith, refusing to waver, refusing to entertain doubt, refusing to accept any reality other than the one God has placed within your spirit. The greatest limitations exist only in the mind. They are not real. They are illusions created by the world, reinforced by human reasoning, but powerless against the truth. When you recognize that you are not bound by the circumstances around you, when you understand that God's power operates beyond human logic, you become unstoppable. You no longer seek permission to be who you were created to be. You no longer wait for signs before taking action. You move with the confidence that what has been spoken in the spirit must manifest in the physical. God does not place visions within you for them to remain unfulfilled. If He has given you the desire, He has also given you the means to bring it into being. But He will not force you to act. The choice is always yours. Will you believe even when the world gives you every reason to doubt? Will you step forward even when fear tells you to wait? Will you walk as though it is already done, even before you see the evidence? This is the test of faith. It is not about waiting for the world to agree with you. It is about deciding once and for all that what God has declared is the only truth you will accept. And when you do this, when you refuse to entertain any other possibility, when you hold the vision so firmly in your mind that it becomes more real to you than anything you see around you, the world must yield. It has no choice. The unseen must become seen. The promise must become reality. The voice of God is speaking even now. The question is not whether He is calling you. The question is whether you will answer. There is a moment when the soul recognizes the truth, when it cannot deny the call that has been placed within it. It is a stirring so deep, so profound, that to ignore it would be to deny the very essence of one's being. The world may not understand it. Others may not see what you see, may not feel what you feel, but that does not mean it is not real. The voice of God does not require external validation. It does not seek permission to move. It simply is, waiting for you to recognize it, to trust it, to step into the reality it has already prepared for you. Doubt will always be present when faith is required. It is the great deceiver, the voice that whispers that you must have proof before you believe. But faith does not wait for evidence. Faith is the evidence. The world teaches that you must see first, that you must have before you can claim. But divine truth operates in reverse. You must believe before you see. You must claim before you possess. You must walk as though it is already yours, knowing that the moment you do, the world must adjust itself to reflect that truth. Every great manifestation begins in the unseen, the dream, the vision, the calling. It is not birthed in the physical first. It exists in the spirit, waiting for the one who will dare to believe, who will dare to accept that what God has revealed is not a possibility but an inevitability. Those who understand this principle do not waver. They do not ask whether it will come to pass. They know that it already has. They live from the end, from the fulfillment, from the assurance that nothing can stop what has already been set in motion by divine decree. There is no force in existence that can override what God has spoken over your life except the limitations you choose to accept. Every delay, every obstacle, every apparent setback is only as real as you allow it to be. The moment you refuse to accept limitation, the moment you decide that nothing can stand between you and the fulfillment of your calling, the obstacles begin to dissolve. The path begins to clear. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable, because faith does not beg for what it already possesses. Most will never walk in this truth because they wait for confirmation outside of themselves. They wait for others to agree, for circumstances to align, for the world to tell them it is time. But the world does not recognize divine calling until it has already been answered. It is only after the manifestation that people will say it was meant to be. But you must know it is meant to be before it is seen. You must hold that truth so firmly that no doubt, no fear, no resistance can shake it. The illusion of time is one of the greatest barriers to faith. It creates the appearance of waiting, of delay, of separation between you and the fulfillment of God's promise. But time is an illusion of the physical world. In the realm of the divine, everything is already complete. The moment you accept that truth, the moment you stop waiting and start living in the reality of the promise, time collapses. What once seemed far away becomes present. What once seemed out of reach becomes undeniable. God's call is never a question of worthiness. It is not given to those who have proven themselves, nor is it withheld from those who have faltered. It is given freely to those who will receive it, to those who will trust it, to those who will step forward in faith, even when nothing around them affirms their decision. The ones who fulfill their calling are not those who had the easiest path, nor those who faced no challenges. They're the ones who refused to let go of what they knew to be true. They're the ones who decided that God's promise was the only reality they would accept. To walk in faith is to walk in certainty, even in the midst of uncertainty. It is to hold the vision so clearly in your mind that nothing can convince you otherwise. It is to understand that what you see in the physical is always a reflection of what you have already established in the spirit. If you wish to change what is visible, you must first change what is unseen. If you wish to walk in the fullness of your calling, you must first accept that you are already there. The greatest shifts occur in silence. Not in struggle, not in striving, but in quiet assurance. It is in those moments of stillness, in the depths of your being, that transformation takes place. When you let go of the need to force, when you release the need to control, when you simply surrender to the truth that has already been written, everything begins to align. The answers come. The way is made clear. What once seemed impossible unfolds with effortless precision. Because faith is not effort, it is rest. It is the resting in the knowing that God has already completed what you are just now stepping into. This is the power of answering God's call, not with hesitation, not with doubt, but with the unwavering certainty that what has been placed within you is already yours. The world may not see it yet, but that is of no concern. The world will see when it is time. Your only task is to believe, to trust, to walk forward without question, knowing that the moment you do, all things must align to fulfill what has already been set in motion. The voice of God does not shout, it whispers, it does not demand, it invites. It is not found in the chaos of the world, but in the stillness within you. When you quiet your mind, when you turn away from the noise of doubt and fear, you will hear it clearly. It has always been there, speaking, guiding, calling you to step into the life that was meant for you. But it is only in stillness, in trust, that you can truly receive what has already been given. The world will tell you that you must earn what is already yours. It will say that you are not ready, that you need more proof, more confirmation, more validation before you take the first step. But the truth is, you were chosen long before you were aware of the calling. The moment the desire was placed within you, the moment the vision was given, the fulfillment was already secured. There is nothing more to wait for. There is nothing more to prepare. You have everything you need, because God does not call without equipping. He does not lead without providing. The only thing required is your belief. To believe in God's calling is to accept that it is already done. It is to move with the assurance that nothing can stop what has been divinely ordained. The physical world may present obstacles, but obstacles are illusions. They exist only for those who accept them as real. The moment you refuse to see them as barriers, the moment you decide that nothing can stand in the way of your purpose, the mountains move, the path opens, what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. But many hesitate. They wait for a sign, for an external confirmation that tells them it is safe to proceed. They wait for circumstances to change, for people to approve, for fear to disappear. But waiting is the greatest deception. It creates the illusion of lack, of separation, of time standing between you and your destiny. Yet there is no separation. The moment you say yes to the call, the moment you accept it fully, you step into the reality where it is already fulfilled. The world must then rearrange itself to reflect your new state of being. This is why those who truly understand faith do not concern themselves with appearances. They do not seek proof before they believe and the proof follows. They do not question whether it is possible. They know that possibility is determined only by the one who holds the vision. They do not ask when it will happen, they know it is already done. and so they live from that knowing. They do not allow fear to dictate their steps, because they recognize fear as nothing more than a shadow cast by a false belief, and when that belief is removed, the fear vanishes, revealing the truth that was always there. Every great manifestation requires a shift in identity. You cannot hold on to the version of yourself that doubts, that fears, that hesitates, and expect to walk in the fullness of your calling. You must become the person who already possesses what you seek. You must think as they think, speak as they speak, act as they act. The world will tell you to wait until you see results before you believe, but divine truth says you must believe before you see. You must embody the end before it appears in the physical, and when you do, it must appear. It has no choice, for the external world is only a reflection of the internal state. Those who answer God's call do not concern themselves with the opinions of others. They do not seek approval from those who do not understand the vision. They do not allow the doubts of others to become their own. The calling was not given to the world, it was given to you. And because it was given to you, only you must believe. Others may not see it. They may question, doubt, even resist, but that does not matter. The promise was not placed in their heart, it was placed in yours, and that is enough. There will be moments when fear tries to creep in, when the old patterns of thought attempt to pull you back into uncertainty. But fear is powerless against faith. It only has the strength you give it. The moment you refuse to entertain it, the moment you stand firm in the knowing that God's promise is already fulfilled, fear dissolves. It has no foundation when the mind is fixed on truth. The world may present distractions, may try to convince you that your circumstances are more real than your faith. But those who understand divine principles know that circumstances are only temporary reflections of past beliefs. They hold no real power. Change the belief, and the circumstance must change. There is no striving in faith. There is no effort, no force, no struggle. Struggle belongs to those who doubt, to those who are trying to convince themselves of what they have not yet accepted as true. But those who know walk in peace. They do not push, they align. They do not beg, they declare. They do not chase, they receive. The moment you stop trying to force the outcome and instead step fully into the reality that it is already yours, everything shifts. The weight lifts, the doors open. The way is made clear. Many ask how they will know if they are truly called. They wonder if they are worthy, if they are capable, if they have what it takes to fulfill the vision placed within them. But those questions are distractions. They are designed to keep you in a state of waiting, of seeking, of postponing what has already been given. You do not need to ask if you are called. The desire itself is the confirmation. The vision is the proof. God does not place a calling within you that He has not already equipped you to fulfill. The only thing left is for you to accept it, to step into it, to walk in the certainty that what has been revealed to you is not just a possibility, but a divine certainty. There is no waiting in the spiritual realm. Everything is now. The only delay is in your acceptance. The moment you fully accept, the moment you embrace the truth without hesitation, the shift occurs. What once seemed distant becomes present. What once felt impossible becomes effortless. The mind is the only barrier, and once it is aligned with divine truth, nothing can stand in the way. God's voice is not found in the noise of the world. It is not in the opinions of others, nor in the distractions that seek to pull you away from your purpose. It is within you, always speaking, always guiding, always leading you toward the fulfillment of the promise. The only question is whether you will listen, whether you will trust, whether you will walk forward, not in hesitation, but in full assurance that what has been placed within you is already yours. The call of God is not a distant echo, but a living truth within you, waiting for recognition. It does not ask for permission from the world, nor does it depend on external validation. It is already established, already fulfilled, already complete in the divine realm. Your task is not to question it, but to embrace it, not to seek proof, but to walk in faith, knowing that what has been spoken over your life is already yours. Doubt will come, but it has no power unless you give it authority. Time may create the illusion of delay, but in truth there is no separation between you and the promise. What you seek is already present, waiting for your full acceptance. The world may not yet recognize your calling, but that is of no importance. It will align when you do. It will reflect what you have claimed. Walk forward with the certainty that God's voice within you is the only reality that matters. Do not wait for signs, for approval, or for the world to catch up. Answer the call with boldness, with trust, and with the deep knowing that what has been revealed to you is already done. The moment you fully accept this truth, the world will have no choice but to reveal it. The Word of God is not just something you read, it is something you become. It is not a distant doctrine, not a mere collection of verses to memorize. It is the living essence of creation, the blueprint of reality itself. When you make it the foundation of your life, you are not simply following a path, you are shaping the world from within. Everything begins with the Word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This is not an abstract thought. It is the divine principle that governs all things. Whatever you accept as true in your heart, whatever word you plant within the soil of your consciousness, must take root and manifest. Your life is the reflection of the word you believe in, the truth you allow to settle in the depths of your being. If your foundation is built on fear, doubt, and limitation, your life will reflect instability. But if you choose to stand on the Word of God, to see yourself as He sees you, whole, powerful, and divinely guided, then nothing can shake you. The storms may come, the winds may rise, but a house built on the solid rock of divine truth will not fall. This is not wishful thinking, it is a law. Look at the world around you. Every structure, every circumstance, every event, it is all the outpicturing of an invisible reality. The foundation upon which you build your inner world determines the shape of your outer world. If you speak words of faith, if you hold to the vision of God's promise, then even the unseen must become seen. You do not need to strive or struggle. The Word itself carries the power of fulfillment. There is no separation between you and the creative force of the universe. God is not outside of you, distant or unreachable. His Word is written upon your heart, waiting for you to awaken to its truth. When you speak His promises over your life, when you meditate upon His eternal truth, you are not merely reciting words, you are activating divine law. You may look at your circumstances and see lack, see difficulties, see obstacles that seem immovable. But the Word of God declares otherwise. It tells you that you are more than a conqueror, that all things are possible, that nothing is beyond the reach of faith. To build your life on this foundation means to accept that reality is not fixed, that what appears solid today can be reshaped by the power of the unseen. Faith is not blind belief. It is the certainty that God's Word is the highest law, that what He has spoken over you is greater than anything the world may